when you're posting on LinkedIn, it feels cringy and awkward, and you just kind of got to push past that feeling because most things that feel cringy and awkward are usually good for your business.
Welcome to the Disgruntled PM podcast, your weekly therapy session for the chaotic world of project management, transforming daily frustrations into real action. Welcome, everybody. I'm Trevor, the Disgruntled PM, joined today by my guest all the way from a land down under, the land of kangaroos and beaches, Cass Whittaker. So,
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, Cass. How are you?
Warm, which is nice compared to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm cold. So why don't we start off with you introducing yourself to the audience?
Yeah, so I'm Cass Whittaker. I'm a copywriter. I've been in marketing industry for 10 years now, and I run my own business. I've run my own business for the last year or so, doing copy for clients, doing brand strategy, brand messaging, that sort of thing.
Okay. So the written word is your weapon.
Yeah. I mean, I kept a journal since I was 11, so I've always liked writing.
So, let's kick this off with a controversial hot topic that you sent me, and that's your spiky POV.
Okay, yep. I remember that. Writers make the best strategists.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought about that one recently, and it's something I've believed for a long time. When I was in agency working as head of content, there were so many times where we would be given a brief, predominantly SEO, because we were a performance agency. Sometimes I did get briefs for email automation sequences and things like that as well. And in both cases, we'd sometimes get a brief and we'd be like, what is this? Like, why are we doing it this way? Why are we trying to target these keywords? Why are we putting this internal link on this page? Or, these sorts of questions. And then we'd go back to the specialist who briefed us, and they wouldn't know themselves and would sometimes be like, oh, well, it's best practice. That was the line we'd be given a lot. And I'd be like, well, what do you want me to write? Like, how am I supposed to weave this link in here? And a lot of the time they would revise the brief. And that was a challenge with clients, because you'd want to go back to the client and make sure that we weren't calling our own team members stupid. You would have to do it in a way where it's like, oh, upon further research, like we've decided to pivot slightly in this direction, and it's not because the writer was a better strategist, and I swear we know what we're doing. So yeah, I think the fact that basically the summary of that is the fact that we have to really put our sit in the shoes of the customer. Let me start that again. Sorry. So yeah, the fact that we have to walk in the shoes of the customer and really think about, what they're trying to achieve, more so than sometimes people who are just technically good at their channel, is why I think that writers make the best strategists.
So let's kind of translate that over to how PMs work, because I know we always talk about how PMs do all these updates and all the emails and everything.
Mm-hmm.
What are some ways that we can improve that content through our writing?
Sorry, can you try that question again?
So when PMs are doing their updates and all their emails and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
writing is the message, and we're not experts in writing usually. We're just trying to report the facts kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what are some tips you could give as a writer on how to improve those skills?
Okay, yeah, I get you. So, I mean, again, it comes down to putting yourself in the audience's shoes. So, an example, when going back to, my marketing background here, but I had a writer who would just do what he was told as per the brief and didn't think beyond that. And so, technically, the information was accurate, but it still kind of missed the mark, right? Like the understanding wasn't there. And so what I got him to start doing was to actually go through the steps of what you wanted that audience member to do before you wrote, and really think about it, because then it takes the 2D picture in your mind to something 3D, right? So really think about the person on the end. What do you want them to do? where are they currently? Where is their mind at when they're reading this? You know, they've probably got a lot of competing priorities being a PM. Um, and you know, so, and all of the members that the PMs are communicating to, they've got a lot of, you know, I imagine that they're just very focused on their thing, right? So yeah, that's what I would suggest, is really think about the individual on the other end, and don't think of them as an avatar. Like, that's a marketing kind of term there, you know, where someone creates like a customer avatar and it's Deb from sales and she drives a Toyota and all that sort of stuff. Like, think of a real person. Like, you know, you could literally think of, and if you're sending it out to a group of people, for example, just pick one person in that group and just think of them as you're writing to them, because it's going to make your writing so much more clear rather than trying to think of all these different people at once. And then the other people will still understand the message. They'll understand it better if you wrote for that one person than if you tried to write for them all at once, because it just makes it, like, again, that from that 2D to the 3D shape, and people, yeah, it's more universal once you're actually talking to a person.
Yeah, target the message to the person that you're
Yeah.
trying to get the most impact from.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same as these podcasts, right? Like, if I am thinking too much about the audience, I'm going to end up sounding all wobbly and not really know what I'm talking about. But if I'm just explaining things to you, it's going to be a lot clearer. And then whoever's listening is going to understand it far better.
Well, if you're explaining it to me, make sure you use small words.
I'll keep that in mind.
So let's move on to writing content, because I know that's something you're passionate about and you've pretty much made a living at for a while. And
Yeah,
you have strong opinions about content writing.
I do. Yes.
And that just because you write, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, remind me what my strong opinions were that I sent to you.
For the audience, let's be honest here, that me and Cass have been trying to get this together for what, about 6 months?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's been,
You were busy, and then Christmas happened, and then I was busy, and it's February now, and we're finally here.
yeah, exactly. So you were talking, so one of the things you sent me was writing content doesn't automatically make you a thought leader.
Yes, I definitely agree with that still. Yeah, I get you. That used to come up a lot when I was in agency, and even still now as you know, running my own business, I get people saying like, "Oh, we really want to produce thought leadership content." And one example I had in a sales meeting back in agency land, they said that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. So is there you know, any subject matter experts that we can interview for you and get some insights to produce in the content?" And they were like, "Oh, no, we just thought you would research it." And I was sitting there like, "How is that thought leadership?" But I could see the salesperson looking terrified, like, "Please don't say anything that I will regret." So I was like, "Oh, yeah, we could just research it and then you can approve it afterwards if you like." And they were like, "Yeah, that sounds perfect." And yeah, it stuck with me because I'm like, well, the definition is in the name. To be a thought leader, you have to have an original thought. You can't just get your copywriter to go Google stuff and that other people have said and call it thought leadership. And that's the same with AI these days too. People are like, "Oh, come up with some hot takes and on this subject," and then they call it thought leadership.
Yeah, my favorite hot take is the one that's not a hot take, but you label it as such.
Yeah, you see that a lot on LinkedIn, don't you? It's like, oh,
Yeah,
unpopular opinion, and then it's the most popular opinion you could imagine.
yeah. Or there's, we were talking about this before we hit record, that I'm seeing the same post poorly written 10 times in a feed, and
Yeah.
it's all badly written, and it's all about the same topic.
Yeah, I posted a while ago actually that there is nothing like a relevancy algorithm to make you realize that your ideas aren't original. You know, like, I thought it was a really clever idea to write content for other copywriters, and then suddenly that's my entire feed is full of writers writing for other writers, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that wasn't as clever as I thought it was going to be." So
Yeah. The
yeah,
fun one is also the one where it's, I was in a meeting, and then they go into this whole story, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, as soon as
They're
I hear,
honestly, they're laughable now. Like, some of the, you know, oh, my favorite is like, I only work 4 hours a day, and I'm like, Sure you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the
I mean, I only work 4 hours a day sometimes, but the other 4 hours, I'm lying there completely feeling guilty and saying I should be working.
yeah, or there's the 4-hour morning routine that starts at 4 a.m.
Yeah, I'm asleep at 4 a.m. generally, unless my 4-year-old has woken me up.
Yeah, I'm usually awake at 4 a.m., but that's just because I can't sleep.
Well, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing your LinkedIn post on your morning routine.
Oh, I didn't say that I got up and did anything. I just was saying I couldn't sleep.
Wakes up, scrolls the internet for 4 hours until it's time to get up. That's my routine.
Yeah, 4-hour routine is wakes up, rolls around, tries to go back to sleep, and then it eventually wakes up at 5:45 to go not want to go work out in the garage.
Yeah, I don't miss the garage workouts. My old house, that's what I used to do. I had like the full gym set up and it's so cold. How do you do it?
Build character.
Fair enough. Nah,
I'll write a
I go to a nice air conditioned gym now.
so when we talk about how you're targeting your audience, what are some ways, I know you said target it for one specific person, but it's kind of tough to do that when you're talking about writing on LinkedIn or other platforms. What are some ways that you could optimize your writing for the masses rather than one specific person?
Yeah, so it does depend on who you're trying to target, right? So in my case, I focus on other solo operators, typically expertise led, because I find that that kind of copywriting I'm really good at, and I relate to them being an expertise led solo myself. And so you just think about, okay, well, what does that group of people need? What is their, their knowledge level in the particular subject matter? Um, and then you also got to think about as well, this is something that some marketers don't recommend, but if you're posting a lot, I suggest that you do it. You've also got to think about who will be your audience in the future. And so people say only focus on your ideal customer, right? And so my ideal customer is someone who's currently running their business and goes, I need help with getting my copy up, whether that's a brand strategy, me writing the copy for them, or I also offer copywriting edits, which I've named for the record Decrapify, just for a little bit of fun. But so that's my ideal customer. But then there's all of these people that might still be in corporate who are thinking about going out on their own, and they haven't quite taken that leap yet. So there's a lot of content there that I'd be able to produce for those people, where it encourages them perhaps to take that leap. And then because I've been on that journey with them, they're much more inclined to continue following me or interacting with me on their journey once they take the leap. It's how you kind of create that brand loyalty and stuff. It just it enhances your or broadens your total addressable market. So it's just something that I've thought about a lot because I used to work for a SaaS company who sold to the board of directors, and in Australia that's not a big group, so they had to go international because they're like, we're going to run out of people in Australia to pitch to. But I suggested that they actually start targeting people who are aspiring to be, an independent director in a board, because if you get those people invested in your brand, once they join a board of directors, they're immediately going to recommend, your product or service. And like HubSpot used to do this, write content for beginner marketers and stuff. So then when that beginner marketer became a marketing manager, well, obviously they were going to use HubSpot. And yeah, so I just think that that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, that's kind of how I run my business. Is I say I'm a terrible brand manager of my own brand because I don't advertise. I run off word of
Yeah.
mouth and referrals only.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I personally, I'm actually was going to write a post about this soon. Like, I think that marketing is all about relationships. Like, people look at marketing and networking as two separate things, but they're largely the same thing. Like, one's delivered in person and the other is, delivered online or in print or, whatever it used to be back in the day before the internet. But it's all about building a relationship with your potential buyers. You can't your LinkedIn ad or even your Facebook ad or whatever is not going to convince someone to buy. It's just there and then they will act when they're ready to buy. So you've just got to build that kind of relationship with people. And in personal network, in-person networking, you have to have a brand as well. Otherwise people aren't going to remember you. So it's the same thing ultimately.
Yeah, I think I keep hearing the numbers. It takes 7 touches from an advertisement to get someone to convert to buy.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got like a crazy number. It's something like people see 5,000 ads in a day, like in an average day, or exposed to 5,000 ads. So may not see, like you might hear them, and and you're not consciously taking 5,000 ads in. Like I actually tried to think about it one day as I was walking around. I'm like, there is no way that I'm seeing 5,000 ads in a day. And I'm like walking down the street, and I'm like, well, technically, like all of these signs for the shops as I'm walking past are an ad, and so when you start to add it up like that, it's like, okay, there probably is close to 5,000.
Are you on LinkedIn for 10 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. The feed is so much more ads now, isn't it? So
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot of theories behind that, but one of the things that I've focused on is, I say to people that if you don't advocate for yourself, no one else will.
that's true.
And
Yeah.
and I hate calling it branding and I'm a brand and all that, but we all are in our own way, because that's how we present ourselves to the masses.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I actually wrote about that the other day too. Like I went back to in-person networking for the first time this year last week. We meet once a week, my group, but we took kind of the Christmas break off to be with family. Lots of people were on overseas holidays, so lucky them. And yeah, so we went back, and I was like, oh, dreading it the night before. Like I'm really not in the mood for this. I've enjoyed the break and that sort of stuff. But you just get past it. You just have to kind of push through the cringe, and in-person networking, that feeling is the exact same way as when you're posting on LinkedIn. It feels cringy and awkward, and you just kind of got to push past that feeling, because most things that feel cringy and awkward are usually good for your business.
Yeah, you just reminded me. I'm a part of a project, PMI. It's the Project Management Association, or Project Management International, and it's the
Yeah, I was
governing
going to say
body for the
PMI.
yeah, it's the governing body for the PMP. And I was at one of our chapter meetings that's local, and someone was like, "Oh yeah, you're all over the place. You've got the podcast and everything. I see it all the time." And I was like, "Oh yeah, thanks for noticing." Blah blah blah. And then I walked away, sat down with my food. I was like, "Does that person even listen to the show? I want to know, because I want to get feedback." So
Yeah.
later on in the evening, I went back and I was like, "Do you listen to the show?" And she was like, "I knew you would ask me that." I was like, "You're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't. I was just curious." And
Yeah.
she's like, "No, but I need to, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Okay, at least I exist. That's a start."
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And that's something I stand by as well. Like it's mostly about staying top of mind. I didn't come up with these phrases. They were much smarter marketers than me. I think the first time I heard it was from someone called Les Binet, and it's be easy to mind and easy to find. So, the more that you're around, people remember you, and then when they are ready to buy, you've got to make the process really, really easy. So in a shopping, like in a grocery store, for example, being easy to find is that you're actually on the shelf. And in you know online internet sense, your cart is simple, or in a service-based business, you're really easy to communicate with, and they understand what they can purchase from you. And that is something that back in the day I've had trouble with, where I've had people message me on LinkedIn saying they want to work with me, but they don't know what I sell. And me
Yeah.
as a marketer, I was like, okay, I need to do some work on that.
Yeah. Or the blind request, and then you accept it knowing that the pitch is coming for something you don't want.
Yeah. I actually said to someone the other day though, I would rather someone pitch slap me, as we call it on
Mhm.
LinkedIn, than lead me down a very obvious qualification path. Like they ask you these questions because they want to be able to answer about their services. Like the questions feel really abrupt, and it doesn't feel like a natural conversation. And I'm like, okay, you're just following a script, and I can tell when
Yeah.
it's awkward.
It's
Just tell me what you want.
yeah, it's an AI script.
Yeah, exactly. So
It-
either have a natural conversation, or if you really must spam your pitches, just do it in the first message. But personally, I'm very against the spray and pray methodology. What's worse is the AI comment summary now. Like, yeah, cool. You just summarized my post. Thanks.
Although we were talking about before the air, and I always I don't keep it a secret that I schedule my content a week out.
Mm.
And I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, and I was like, a lot of the time I forgot what I wrote last week because by the time it comes out, I've already written new stuff. So it's almost like I'm reading my own content for the first time once it's published.
That's brilliant. I mean, I schedule some of my posts now because I've like after having a little break over Christmas, I've just had so many ideas, and I'm like, oh well, I don't want to post more than once a day, so I'll schedule that one. But I also, if I have like a really good idea and I'm like, no, I want to post this now, I just edit the schedule and post my cool idea today.
Yeah, I have the notes app for that.
Mm.
We have a no screen rule at the table for my family, and one of the things I say is the exemption to that is if dad gets an idea and needs to go write it down, because ideas for content come fast and they leave just as fast.
Yeah, I know. I have made that error of not writing it down and regretting it. Like, oh, I'm about to go to sleep. I'll remember it. I don't need to look at my phone and quickly write it down. And next morning, I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
and
yeah,
it's always like that one idea was the one that was going to go viral.
the ones that go viral are never the ones you think are going to go viral, though. My biggest one was a post about my daughter trashing my couch with ballpoint pen. So that one went crazy. Lots
Yeah,
of
I remember
people
that.
laughing but feeling sorry for me. So
Yeah, and one of the things I wrote about this, but everyone talks about how they want to go viral, but there's two things that a lot of people miss. How much work a viral post is, and then also
lots of replies.
what do you do with it once you've got everyone's attention?
Yeah, and I mean, like I was just saying, this was just a silly post about my daughter and ballpoint pen, so it's not exactly a viral post for my spiky point of view. What I did with that particular post is I kept reusing it in different ways. So like I would use it as the opening story for another post and then have a, different point and things like that. And all of those follow-up posts did quite well too, actually. But yeah, I mean, you can get business from just silly posts. Like, I wrote another one about my daughter. I wrote a post saying, one night when she was refusing to go to bed, I lost a bit of my temper and said, when I was your age, my mum would have given me a smack by now. And she turned around and said, I want a snack. Children these days don't know what smacks are. So I wrote that, and I got a client out of that. Someone sent me an email and said, like, I love your post. It's funny. I went and checked out your page, and I think that you'd be able to help me with my brand messaging. And so I helped him with his brand messaging, and we did yeah. So, you can get leads from those viral silly posts as long as the rest of your profile has some authority to it, like you're actually got some helpful content and your profile's clearly optimized for what you offer. But also, if you think a post is going to go viral, it's probably not going to go viral.
No. There's been some where I've meticulously wordsmithed every word because I'm like, oh, this is gold.
Yeah.
And it falls flat. And then the ones where I've just thrown it out there, I'm like, that did well.
Yeah. It makes
And
no sense.
and to your point, but to the point though, was you get everyone's attention, and then what do you do with it when you have it? Because when you're that viral hot person for 5 minutes, actually it's usually about 5 days,
Yeah. Yeah.
are you capitalizing on that, and how do you capitalize on it?
Yeah. And I think that's where it comes down to making sure that you've got a clear call to action on your profile, because people will go check your profile out afterwards. And I mean, my theory on a very clear call to action that's really easy is an email list. And the reason I say that is because, LinkedIn tomorrow could delete both of our accounts if it wanted to. Like, we don't own our audience on that platform. The algorithm changes, all the work that you put in, it's gone. So, but with an email list, you obviously own that data. So the more that you can funnel your followers off LinkedIn or any social media platform into an email list, is the way forward, I think. But even then, I will caveat by saying that you should also regularly export and back up your email lists, because again, you don't own the ESP, like the email service provider that you're using to send emails to your email list. And if at any point they go under or cancel your account, you won't have those emails that you own anymore. So regularly export
That's
them.
that's exactly why I wrote a post a little while ago about how every time I write something, I save it as a Word document too. So
Yeah.
I have an archive of all of my content that I've written. What I'm going to do with it, I don't know, but it's there. So if LinkedIn went away tomorrow,
Mm.
all my written content doesn't go with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometime last year, LinkedIn was pushing through an update and everyone's content disappeared. It didn't stay gone, but there was that moment, I think, for a lot of people where they're like 4 years of content just gone. And yeah, so it's definitely important to back things up.
I remember when the notifications weren't working. That was one of my best performing posts was, "Hey, is anyone else getting notifications? Because I'm not." And the comments were all just like, "I'm not getting them either. I'm not getting them either."
Oh, God. So you went viral.
I didn't go viral, but it was a very good performing post. And it was just like, I was just throwing it out there because I'm like, am I the only one?
Yeah, yeah. I have a funny story about backing up things actually from when I was in high school. So this is, showing my age here, back in floppy disk days.
I remember them.
Yep. So for anyone who can remember floppy disks, which I mean, your audience, I'm sure, is all of them, or at least many of them. um, the rule of floppy disks was don't just solely rely on the floppy disk. Well, I forgot that golden rule, and I was writing a story for Amnesty International. They did a Voices of Hope campaign, and the school, instead of writing a boring essay, I was allowed to write a story for that. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to do that. So I wrote this story and I had it saved on a floppy disk. And of course, the floppy disk did what it did and it needed to be reformatted, and I'd lost everything. And I was obviously quite upset and stressed because I'd finished it all. And my mum was in the computer room, because we had a computer room, and was like, Cass, I need you to go do the dishes or some other chore that I was due to do. And I was like, I can't right now. If like my floppy disk isn't working, I'm trying to get, find a way to get this story back. And, I've lost everything. And she turns around and goes, oh, well, just write it again. And I went off, like, lots of swear words. And my mum looked at me in stunned horror for a second, because I don't think I'd sworn much at her before that point. And then she went off at me for swearing at her, and it just, yeah, it turned into mayhem. Thankfully, I was a little MSN nerd. So another throwback there, MSN chat. And I had copy and pasted pretty much the entire story to my friend via MSN, and she used to log all of her chats automatically. So she sent me all of the chat logs, and then I had the story. The only problem was it, was formatted with Cass says, and then like her response going, that was cool, but I had the story.
Yeah, I back up all of my content in Word documents, and then I have a giant solid state that backs everything up.
Yeah.
And then I have another hard drive there's a solid state that I use just for show stuff, because, these types of conversations I get one shot at and that's it.
Yeah.
That's a written content you can come up with again if you kind of knew the premise and somewhat recreate it. But, I back up to back up to back up because hard drives fail.
Yeah. You've actually this conversation's just made me think like I probably should have my own solid state drive somewhere that's got backups, because at the moment I largely rely on the cloud. And same premise as what I just said about LinkedIn and ESPs. Like, I don't own that cloud space. I'm just renting it. So yeah.
So now is a great place to pause to remind the audience that I have a Patreon account where they can hear bonus content from every guest, including Cass, because you signed up for that when you signed up for this.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking a lot about how to use storytelling and content, and how people are focused on platform metrics and they think that's marketing.
Yeah, that'll be good. I have a lot of spicy opinions on that too.
Are they hot takes or are they hot takes?
I mean, they'll just have to sign up and find out, won't they?
Exactly. For a mere $5 a month, you'll get access to Cass's hot takes along with every other guest and their actionable information to make you a better PM today. So let's shift gears a little bit because we've talked about a lot of different things, but I want to talk more about how the clients thought that the copywriters were the thought leaders to make them sound like thought leaders.
Yeah, I think it was a fundamental misunderstanding of digital marketing, and marketing in general. Like a lot of people look at a lot of people look at marketing as something they have to do. And then digital marketing has kind of become synonymous with that. It's like, well, I've got to be on social media and I've got to do SEO and all of these kind of things. And so they want to be thought leaders. They don't want to just post SEO rubbish, but they don't want to actually put in the effort to do that. And they haven't really thought about whether that makes sense for their brand as well. So there's a lot of different things going on, I think, in response to that question. And I am of the opinion that, particularly in small business, you should just pick one channel at the start and do that one channel really well. And if thought leadership is the thing that makes sense for your brand, then do that. But you have to have some sort of expertise, time and ability to do research yourself and qualify it and sometimes disagree with it. And then you would just get a copywriter to translate that into more kind of, persuasive marketing material. Or a PR piece, like we used to get articles published in Forbes and Entrepreneur and things like that for clients as well. So I've written a fair bit for Forbes and Entrepreneur, just not under my own name. um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've answered your question 100% there.
Well, one of the things that you just kind of highlighted that I really wanted to kind of pull on a little bit is with everything being so digital and everyone being so scattered, it's like everyone says you need to be Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything. And I always, we were talking about this before we hit record, that I've got people asking me, they're like, why aren't you on Instagram? That's the number one platform for social media. And I say, because I don't go to LinkedIn, or I don't go to Instagram to see what the latest on project management is. I go there for AI cat videos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I'm not on anything but LinkedIn. I have an Instagram account which has nothing on it. I deleted all of my old content from when I was younger, once I had Molly. Um, well, actually, I posted a little bit of her and then I had a freak out and was like, I don't want her image on the internet. And thankfully, I did all of that before AI came out because now I'm extra glad that she's not on the internet. But yeah, and so that just sits there for me to occasionally scroll reels, and that's it. I don't
Yeah,
look at it for anything of value.
exactly. That's where I go to mindlessly scroll for 20 minutes when I've got some time to kill and I've got nothing else to do.
Yeah, I actually had a conversation about this with another copywriter the other day though, and I said it really, again, what we've said a few times in this podcast is it really comes down to your audience. So she works really well with bricks and mortar local businesses and things like that. She's from a small town, and so the local community is really important to them. They get a lot of tourists, that sort of stuff. So those are the kind of businesses she likes to work with. And I said, well, Instagram would be good for you in that scenario because you would have a lot of those small businesses, promoting, like, because it's like, I think cafes and restaurants and yoga studios and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. I'm like, they will be on Instagram and they should be on Instagram or TikTok, particularly TikTok, because I think that a lot of people use it as a search engine now as well. And so if she's on there, well, one, she can keep up with the trends for when she's producing content for her own clients and she can interact with them. For me, someone who, wants to talk to solos and people that sell their expertise, unless you've got I think I'm going to find my audience better on LinkedIn, frankly. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the point, is because I've had these conversations with multiple people similar to me and their expertise. And it's like, do you get traction on those? And they're like, well, I don't know. It's like, then why are we wasting our time with this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I had a mortgage broker client for a while, and she works in the commercial space, and I said, "Well, commercial will run fine on LinkedIn." But she also wanted to target the residential side of it, and I said, "Well," she's a very funny lady, and I like really sassy kind of Aussie, like think like Aussie mum, you know. And I said, I'm like, you would do perfect on like TikTok, just doing like these real Aussie mum
Hmm.
myth busting rants about mortgages and things. I was like, that's if you want first home buyers and resi, that's where you should be. And she was like, I'm not getting on video. And I was like, oh, you'd be perfect at it. so, um, so yeah, again, it really just depends on your audience. And then also if you're confident enough and have the patience and energy enough to edit and shoot video all the time.
Well, yeah, and I think that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, yeah, I told you just before this I was a bit nervous. I'm like, oh, video.
So that brings us to I come up with a specialized guest question for every guest.
Okay.
And yours is going to be fairly simple because you're in Australia, so I have to ask because I have kids.
Hmm.
Is Bluey as popular there as it is in the US?
Yeah, yeah, it's huge. I love Bluey. I like my daughter was really into Peppa Pig, and I cannot stand that naughty little pig.
My
And
kids
Molly
went through that
started,
phase too.
yeah, she started picking up the but why that Peppa used to do, and it was driving me nuts. So I started saying, sorry, Peppa doesn't run on this TV, and we switched to Bluey. And yeah, she's got a Bluey bread spread at the moment. She has this massive Bluey plane that turns into a resort.
Oh, I
Some
think
of
I
the
know which
toys
one
that
that is.
yeah, some of the toys that kids have these days, man. Like I wish they had them when I was younger.
My kids just recently started watching the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh wow.
The ones from 95.
Yeah, me and my sister used to fight over who would be the pink Power Ranger. And I remember mum bought us costumes and she bought me the yellow one and Nicola the pink one, and I was very mad. But she was like, "You're the eldest, you can give in," and like she doesn't understand, she's younger. And I was like,
I
but
try that with my daughter and it doesn't go over as well as you would think.
no, I don't think it went over very well with me either. I'm misremembering and thinking I was super reasonable, but yeah, definitely most likely wasn't.
Yeah, I need to video some of my daughter's meltdowns to remind her how reasonable she is.
I've got my favorite one of Molly having a meltdown was when she was still a little baby and she'd just learnt to clap. And so she was crying and clapping angrily at the same time. That was pretty good. But
Well, I think
yeah,
uh, I was just going to say, I think that that's a great place for me to turn the floor over to you, let the audience know where they can find you, how they can connect with you, all that fun stuff.
yeah, cool. Well, so I am on LinkedIn and I post at the moment. I'm posting daily, and a lot of it is just silly random thoughts popping into my head. So please enjoy. But also, you can find me at casswhittaker.com and subscribe to my mailing list, which is where I provide lots of brand strategy insights and sell offers, sometimes affiliate offers, sometimes my own offers. That's where all my best stuff lives, in email. LinkedIn is for silly buggers at the moment, and emails for actual insights. So yeah,
Well, thank you for joining, and
thank you.
we need to thank the listeners, most importantly the Patreon subscribers, because they're the ones that help fund this show to keep us on the air. So don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, all that fun stuff. Cass's links are going to be in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, keep tuning in. If you didn't, I have plenty of other great episodes to find someone else better.
Brutal.
Hey,
I love it.
not it, you know, not everybody is a guest for everyone, and
That's true.
I try to spread it out so that I catch a little bit of everyone, because project management is such a diverse field.
Yeah,
Use expertise from everyone.
I think that's smart.
So I'll end it like I always do. May all your deliverables be on time, your budget's in the black, and your scope not creeping. For Cass Whittaker, I'm still Trevor, and I'm still the disgruntled PM. Thanks for listening.